Welcome to the Rams Hour with Rams football coach Fran Johnson. I'm Jimmy the St. Christopher. We'll catch up with the other coaches of the Rams for volleyball and soccer and athletic director Ricky Dotson. But first, look who our new head coach is. He's not really new though. He's been with the Rams program since 2021, but this is your first head coaching gig. How big of a life event, and definitely coaching event, was that when you were named the coach back in the spring?
I felt like I was prepared for this in so many ways over the years, whether it be here or my previous school as well. And so I really felt like the transition was pretty smooth moving into this position. Had a lot of support from players, the school, the community that's involved with us. And so I just operated as I knew how to, and so I didn't really feel like it was this great big ordeal.
You had mentioned to me over the course of the last few months at one of the practices that the last 2 years were kind of a storm, but how much of those stormy years, how much did that help you now in your head coaching job?
Yeah, I've learned a lot from Coach Larry Wilcox, who I played and coached for, Coach Prudhomme, who brought me here. But really the last 2 years, I learned a lot of maybe what to do or what not to do. And I have a list of notes that kind of helped guided me to making sure that I could be as ready as possible once I got to this position. So it was very helpful to kind of go through the quote-unquote storm.
What kind of coach are you, Coach Fran Johnson? Are you an old school coach or a player's coach?
I think there's a lot of old school coaches that are players' coaches. Who I learned from was old school. Coach Prudhomme is old school. So I would say that I'm old school as well in so many ways, but at the same time, trying to keep up with a game that's ever evolving, but also players that are evolving in terms of what's important to them. And so trying to find balance between old school and quote-unquote new school has been a little bit of a challenge for us as we move forward.
What will the Rams culture be like under you now?
Well, we have three cultures three rules that we live by. One, your TNTs, do the things that take no talent, do your job or your 111th, and control your A&E. And those three things shape and mold who we are and who this program is, because usually if you step outside those three things, you're putting yourself above the team, and we're trying to eliminate that.
How long do you think it'll take to develop that kind of culture?
The guys really bought in the spring. I mean, it's gonna take more time to develop as I try to reel back in the reins of the last couple years. But a lot of guys have really bought into that, and they're starting to communicate with the younger guys that are still learning that to be able to buy in and move forward.
How important, Coach, is the off-field development of your players?
I think the off-field development is probably even more important than the on the field, because if you can develop them off the field in whatever aspect that is, whether it be academics or life, socially or emotionally, the football piece usually takes care of itself. But that's our biggest goal is to help these kids off the field, because at some point in time, football does have an expiration date for everybody, and we want these kids to be prepared for life.
And I'm thinking, since you, the OC, since 2021, and now head coach and OC and running backs coach, I would think it'll still be a high-flying, dynamic offense, right? A lot of fun, a lot of points, a lot of O.
Well, I hope we score a lot of points. We have a lot of new faces at a lot of different positions, especially in the skill positions. The philosophy of who we are is not going to change. But we will adapt the offense to our skill set and our talents. But if you ask me who we are right now, I don't know. I guess ask me in November, and I'll let you know who we are after the season. We're going to be very balanced, and we're going to continue moving forward with what we've done over the last 5 or 6 years.
You pretty much kept the same staff. Did you make any additions to it?
The full-timers are still the same from this past year. But I did bring in Dylan Petway, who played here from, I think, 18 to 22. And so I'm excited about him. He's hung it up since his professional career, and he's going to be a great assistant for us. He's actually going to work on the offense side of the ball. And the thing I like about Dylan is yeah, he's 26, but he's very much aligned with us in terms of getting the most out of these guys, and he's eager to do this for the rest of his career as well. The other one that I brought in was Javi Blomquist, who actually played at Benedictine the year that we played them in the playoffs, played safety for them. So he's going to help us on the back end on the defensive side and brings a wealth of knowledge that we'll be able to incorporate in what we're doing defensively. And so I'm excited for him and his energy as well.
When I saw that you brought back Dylan Petway, I was going, great, because love Dylan Petway. Got to know his folks back in Georgia. They listened to every broadcaster in the years that he was here, those 4 years that he was here. Great kid, and I'm thinking he'll be as great a coach. Speaking of recruiting, which we weren't, maybe a little bit before, but what positions did you recruit for? What were the biggest needs that you had to recruit for?
After the spring, our biggest assessment was the offensive line, defensive line. That's where our biggest needs were. Obviously, all positions we're going to recruit the best players we can, whether it be high school or a few transfers here and there. But O-line, D-line was our biggest need, and I feel really good about who we are up front, offensively and defensively. I feel good about the depth. I feel good about the players that we brought in, both freshmen and a few transfers. And it's starting to show in practice, so hopefully that translates into the game.
Who stood out during the camp, the spring camp, the OTAs, and now the just almost concluded summer fall camp?
There's a lot of guys that have stood out. I'll first talk about Sean Smith. Sean was a true freshman for us last year, who was thrusted into service immediately. One, because of his skill set, but two, we were in need. But he's grown so much just understanding the game, understanding what we want from an offensive standpoint. This fall has been great for him, fall camp so far, and just, like I said, the knowledge that he brings, and so, the future's bright for him. Got a few returners at the receiver spot, but also Evan Head. Evan Head is one of my captains, and Evan's a guy that was a role player for the defense in the secondary at different times. He's a special teams guy, but he's really materialized into a starter this year, and he's the one back there calling the defense in terms of checks and audibles and things like that, and he's done a really good job so far.
And Sean Smith, he can return kicks as well as be a target on offense, right?
Yes, yep. So he's going to be back there in the return game, both kickoffs and punts, and so hopefully get a few touchdowns from him on that end.
And we'll talk about Sean Smith on the offense and the rest of Coach Fran Johnson's offense and defense too, and some big moves on campus for not only football but for Texas Wesleyan sports. We'll get into all that coming up after this word from one of our fine sponsors, NBT.
We are Texas Wesleyan University, serving Fort Worth since 1890.
And we are NBT Financial Bank, serving North Texas since 1973.
We provide customized degree programs to help you succeed in today's market.
And we provide personalized service and financial tools to help you grow your business and your accounts.
We believe in smaller, smarter.
And we believe in exceeding expectations. NBT and Texas Wesleyan, two Fort Worth traditions, teaming up
to build tomorrow's leaders.
Welcome back to the Rams Hour, our initial show with Rams football coach Fran Johnson. Coach, the Rams have 6 returning starters on offense, including fifth-year quarterback Cole Francis. Gotten to know him over the years, great kid. How much has he improved? You've seen him in all 4 of his years since he was here in 22, but what improvement has he showed over those 4 years?
Yeah, he's improved tremendously. Just like I said, the experience factor and really being the guy last year for the first time. He started the remaining 9 or 10 games, I think it was, last year. Did an excellent job. Saw a lot of growth from last fall to the spring. We were a little unconventional in the sense that our quarterbacks were live in every team session in the spring. Most schools don't do that. And that was a request by not only Coach Glover, but the quarterbacks as well. And so we did that, and it proved effective. And I think it really instilled a lot of confidence in Cole heading into this year, and he's had a really great fall camp so far.
I know in the NFL, a lot of quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield comes to mind. They've had like 20 offensive coordinators and 10 head coaches in 5 years. I exaggerate, but they've had a different OC for, 4 or 5 years. But how big is that for Cole to have the same guy who was his OC for 4 years as you were, and now the head coach? How does that, what good does that do for the continuity?
I mean, you use the right word. I think it just builds consistency and continuity for him to know exactly what we're going to do. He understands what we expect. He doesn't have to learn a new system, and so he's focusing on developing chemistry with some new guys at the receiver spot. But as far as the offense goes, I think he's very comfortable in what we do and how we do it.
Who are some of those targets that he'll have to throw to?
Yeah, so I mean, you return, like I said, Sean Smith, T.J. Curtis, and Ronnie Schneider, who's the core. But we've added a couple of transfers. Mekhi Whitney, who was at Washington State for a little bit. Terrell Trevino, who comes from us from Texas A&M Kingsville. So we've added some guys there and some freshmen as well. And so I feel good about our receiving core as we move into the season.
And speaking of transfers, I got to see transfer running back Ian Jernigan through the 3 phases of the spring, summer, and now fall camp. And he looked pretty good when I saw him last week. What's your assessment of Ian so far?
Well, I will say this: we're going to look a lot different in the backfield than we did years past. I mean, we've had Ernie, we had Mark Benjamin.
Yep.
We had some smaller guys, if you will, that made big impacts. But we're going to be a little bit bigger in the backfield this year. Ian Jernigan being 6 foot, 215. The thing that impresses me about Ian is with his size, he's very fluid and moves sort of like a smaller back. And so he's got good hips, makes good cuts, has good vision. And then we brought in Maurice Griffin on the back half of summer as well, who's also 6 foot, 215, and very similar to Ian in that sense that he can run. He's very fluid. He's not stiff in the hips. And so I'm really excited for our 1-2 punch. And you know me, I love running the football.
And you like big offensive linemen. Who are some of the guys that are going to fill those holes in the OL?
Yeah, so we returned Polanu, who's a 2-year all-conference guy for us going into his junior year, started as a true freshman. We also return Oki, I'll just say. He's going into his senior year and started a few games for us last year. He's going to be a starter this year. And so we've had to fill some spots. We brought some transfers in. Daniel Peoples, who's an NAI guy actually, is going to be our left tackle. And Cody Kampfenick transferred to us from UTPB. And so he was going to be our right tackle. And so, like I said, we're filling in the spots with pretty good talent.
How many guys did you have transfers? I think I read or heard, I think you told me in one of those bits that we did on the practice field a couple weeks ago or whatever, last week, you had like 190 guys in camp?
Yeah, so
that's a lot.
Yeah, right. We're actually at about 175 total. We did sign a big freshman class, but this is the first year in the time that I've been here that we've actually brought in a large number of transfers. When I say a large number, I think we brought in 17 or 18 transfers. Normally we're around 3 or 4. That is by intent though. We typically want to build it with high school guys. High school guys tend to stay longer. The one thing I'm impressed with this transfer class is just the quality of person we brought in. And so we did a really good job, I feel like, in vetting players as we were recruiting them to realize that these are good people that fit the mission of Texas Wesleyan, who we are as a program, and that they're really good kids.
And who has stood out on the other side of the ball on defense for DC Darren Drago to develop?
Yeah, we have a couple of freshman kids that are getting a lot of reps at the linebacker spot that is going to aid with Seymour. Jace Hill Douglas, a kid out of DeSoto, and also DJ Butler, 2 quality freshman linebackers that have really impressed us over the summer, into fall camp and everything. And also on the defensive line, you're anchored by Isaac Villasenor and Easton Schultz, who have been with us for going on 4 years. Right. But also we added a couple guys from SFA, a guy from a couple transfers out of California in Danny Washington, and Jason Roberts. So I mean, like I said, we brought some guys in that really have shown us some things up front.
How good is the 3-headed kicking monster of punter Tyler Strumila, Max Luna, and Freddie Hoya?
It's good. We're actually Still evaluating the kicker thing in terms of kickoff and extra point field goal and things like that. But you return a number of guys that did very well last year, and we've actually added a couple pieces as well that are competing at a high level.
We teased it a little while ago, but the Rams moved to Division II in 2028, and then to the Lone Star Conference, which in my mind is like the SEC of D2.
Mm-hmm.
How exciting is that for you, and maybe not the seniors on the team, because probably they won't be around, but for the younger guys, how exciting is that to go to a level like that, go from NAIA to NCAA D2?
Yeah, we're excited about it. It's not just good for us, it's good for everybody, both the athletic department in general, but also the school of Texas Wesleyan, just because we are in Fort Worth, and to be able to say that we're Division II, to be able to say that we're part of the Lone Star Conference, that's going to open up a lot of doors for us in terms of how we recruit athletically, but also how the school recruits the traditional student, and we should see enrollment and our numbers rise in both areas. So it's exciting for all of us as we move forward. With the NIL and the transfer portal and all these things going on these days in college football, we see a lot of trickle down from Division I to the Division II and Division II to NAIA. I mean, yeah, we're going to have to get our feet wet, but we've been recruiting the right athlete over the last 6 years, so we feel like we're going to be able to compete now.
I can't believe it's football season already, and the home opener and the season opener for the Rams will be Thursday, August 27th, 6 p.m. It's an evening game at Crowley Multipurpose ISD Stadium. And oh, look, it's a D2 school, University of Central Oklahoma. How much of a challenge are they going to be in the opener?
Well, you talked about the LSC being a quality conference, but so is the MIAA. They got really good programs there. I'm familiar with the MIAA just with my time at Benedictine, being up in that area. Coach Dorrell, who's the head coach over there at UCO, is a very good coach, was at North Missouri State, Abilene Christian, has done some different things. And so, I expect them to be a challenge. They're going to be good, they're going to be prepared, they're going to be ready. And so we have our hands full for sure. But the other thing is, in wanting to do this game, we need to kind of see where we're at now in terms of Division II and where we need to get to be able to compete with quality teams at the Division II level. So we are excited about the challenge, and we're just happy it's in Fort Worth this year.
Central Oklahoma's quarterback Jed Huff is a D2.com top 100 watch lister. I found out where it is. It's D2football.com elite top 100 watch lister. He's thrown for 6,000 yards, 52 touchdowns. How tough is that going to be to stop him?
Well, again, you're talking about a guy that has the experience and has played at a very high level at the Division II level. And so, we're going to have to, be very disciplined in what we do defensively to not necessarily stop him, but hope to contain him, because obviously he's been successful in what he's done. And so we have a lot of respect for their players. We've been watching film on them. They're very athletic on both sides of the ball. And so we know we're going to, like I said, we know we're going to have our challenge ahead of us, and we're going to do our very best to, game plan to contain him.
And speaking of watching film, how much film have you watched on some of their returners at running back? How good do they look?
They look very good. They've lost some guys from last year on both sides of the ball. They brought some transfers in. They got some young guys similar to us. But regardless, looking more at the schematics of things and what they do, like I said, they're very well disciplined on both sides of the ball. And you put guys into those, plug those guys in, and they're going to make plays. And so, like I said, we got to be disciplined as well.
And they bring back a lot of guys on defense as well. What can you say about their defense? Is there any weak spots that you see?
It doesn't feel like there when we sit and watch. Last year they had a really good defensive line. They still do, because a lot of the guys that were backups last year are now in the starting roles for them, and they got significant playing time last year. There's a couple guys that did move on the defensive line, but their defensive line is so good. They're fast. They're well coached. Really good technique. But they give you a lot of different fronts. They disguise their coverages very well. So our quarterbacks are going to have to be very disciplined with their eyes and who they're looking at pre-snap, but the offensive line is going to have to be very disciplined as well with run game and the pass blocks with the amount of movement they do.
I love the hashtag where champions are forged. Where did that come from and whose idea was that?
Honestly, it was mine.
Oh, right.
And I asked Ricky if it was okay. There's a lot of schools have a lot of different hashtags. And I asked Ricky if we had one, and not really. I know we say Rams up, but where champions are forged is not just about on the field, but it's also in the classroom and being here at Texas Wesleyan. And like I said, the opportunities that kids will have when they come here to better themselves and to give themselves a better life while also playing sports and being able to win in sports, I felt like that was a very fitting hashtag for both the school and for athletics.
And you're wrapping up your fall camp, and then you go into 3 or 4 practices with a walkthrough before next Thursday's opener. Are those any different, those 4 to 6 p.m. practices, I think? Are they any different than what you're going through now in fall camp?
Yeah, the heat.
Yeah, it's been hot, too.
Yeah, so right now, today's the first day that we transition. We're going to do some night practices the next 3 days at 6 o'clock. And then we'll move into our 4:30 practices next week. But we've got to acclimate to the heat. We needed to protect our guys early on. But when we kick off against UCO at 6 o'clock on the 27th, it's probably going to be 100, 102 degrees, still hot. And so we need to be acclimated to that.
And Coach just said it, Thursday, August 27th, 6 p.m. kick from Crowley CISD Multipurpose Stadium, 6 o'clock kickoff. If you can't go to the game, we'll have it on ramssports.net. But I'm pumped, Coach, and I'm sure you are. So we look forward to next Thursday. Come out and see the Rams. It's going to be a good year, and you got a mighty fine guy and head coach. I'm excited just to see what Coach Fran Johnson can do in his first year as head coach. For Coach Fran, for Ricky Dotson, who we might see here in a little bit in one of our Rams Hours guests. We'll get into the D2 thing. And for everybody here at Texas Wesleyan, including James McBride, Aaron Marquardt, and Kenneth Flowers. Good to see you boys again. It's been a few months since we've hooked up. Anyway, for everybody, Jimmy the St. Christopher saying so long. We'll catch you here in a little bit with our next guest on the Rams Hour. The Rams Hour moves on with Rams men's soccer coach Matt Pitcock. Hi, Matt. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
First time I've met you.
Yeah.
Hey, how has the weather been? It hasn't been exactly cool weather. We've had like 8,000, 100-degree plus weathers. How is that working out in that weather for your team?
I mean, it's been definitely tough. It's hot temperatures this time of year, but we are going to be playing in games in these temperatures in the coming weeks. Starting on this Friday, we play at 2 o'clock. We kick off the season Thursday night, 7:30 under the lights, but then we quick turnaround, and we play again Friday morning at 2 o'clock. And so we've been training, trying to acclimate the boys to the temperatures they're going to be playing in. But they've been resilient. They've been fighting through the conditions and a pretty rigorous preseason. So I think they're trained, they're acclimated, and they're ready to get going.
And your club's coming off a 9-10-2 season, so this will be the first game. But what improvement would you like to see, or what improvement have you seen in practice that you want to see on the field in the opener?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a very competitive preseason. Players have been going at it. They know nobody's job's safe. Everyone's competing to try and get in that starting 11 or be on the travel squad. So I think there's been a high level of competition. I think the positives that we've come from this compared to last year is we have depth. We have a squad of 20, 22 players that we think we trust, that we're going to get to see over the next 2 weeks in some high-level games, playing 3 teams that are ranked in the top 25 in the nation. So we're going to be battle tested pretty early this year, and we're going to see where we're at, what we need to improve on, and the resilience of this group, which I think you'll see on the field over these next couple weeks.
The Rams lost a number of seniors, and did you recruit to make up for those seniors lost, but what recruits have stood out?
Yeah,
so far?
definitely. So we had to fill a hole in our goalkeeper position. We graduated a senior last year that played significant minutes over his 2 years with us. So that was the first main piece we had to fill, and we think we did a good job in the recruiting cycle of that. We have a strong goalkeeper who's a junior college transfer from Morton Junior College. So Rafa Dos Santos, he'll be between the pipes for us, and I think his experience and his leadership will definitely pay dividends. And then going through the lineup, we brought in a few other transfers that we're really excited about. They've done well in preseason, have shown their quality so far in our 2 exhibitions. So overall, I think we have some good ones, and then we have some good first years that have come in and have definitely, you look at them and how they've been playing and how they've been training, and you would think they're older than they are. So I think you have a good mix of returners where we have good leadership from our captain, Jogo Stefan, and then the more experienced junior college transfers, and then, like I said, a good freshman class from a couple local talents that are in and working really, really hard. So we're
And
excited.
what are the areas that you want to see, again, improved?
Yeah, I think the final product, the finishing touch. I think if you watched our games last year, you saw a team that played really, really well in long stretches of the games, but just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net when we needed to. And that's, I think, an area that we definitely focus on from recruiting, but then just from our training aspect of being polished in that final third, because we would create the chances from a statistical standpoint, but just the efficiency in those moments when you really need a goal to get you past that line, I think we have that this year.
What is your philosophy, coaching philosophy, and what kind of culture do you establish?
Yeah, I say it all the time. We want to be the hardest working team in the conference. We want to set the standard that no one outworks us. But we also want to be a team that values the ball. We want to be very attacking minded, play a good brand of soccer that's creative, innovative, do different things in our movements in possession, and especially in the creativity phase from the middle third to the final third. We want to be a team that, like I said, dominates in possession and is able to create a lot of chances going forward. But we also want to be structured defensively and be disciplined in those moments. But overall, just we want to put a good brand of soccer out on the pitch, whether we're at home or on the road.
What have you learned about yourself as a head coach, and this is your 3rd season?
Yeah, I think patience. I think every year every team's different, and they're not going to be the final product in August that you want them to be in November. So just embracing the journey, being patient, teaching new guys how what it means, what our culture is, what we want to be on and off the field. It's not just on the field; it's in the classroom. It's in your free time. We want to be a good representation of ourselves in all those moments, and just embracing every day along the journey, because the season goes by very quick, but the days are very long. So just finding that balance, and we talked about at the beginning of the season our three things we want to focus on, or the 3 C's that we have, and that's commitment. We want to be a committed group. We want to be a competitive group, and most importantly, we want to be a connected group. And I think if we hit all 3 of those areas and we're strong in those, then we'll have a successful season.
Rams men's soccer team schedule opens Thursday the 20th, 7 p.m. at William Carey University, Mississippi at Hattiesburg, Danny Owens Field. Signs up the Crusaders for us, Coach.
Yeah, so William Carey, national powerhouse, always in the top 10 in the nation, always making a run at the national tournament. And so when they reached out about the game, it's one of those games you can't pass up. And so the opportunity to get 2 games on the road, to play them opening night at their home opener under the lights, I don't think you can get a better atmosphere. I think we'll definitely get to see what playing on the road in a hostile environment against a team that's a national perennial powerhouse. I think that's a great opportunity, and that's something that we place a big emphasis on in our scheduling, is that we wanted to play the best possible schedule in non-conference we could to prepare us for going into the SAC.
One last one for you, Coach. What is your favorite soccer league, and who's your favorite soccer player?
Favorite soccer league would definitely be the EPL. Watching it week in, week out, you have the best league in the world, and some of the best players and teams in the world for sure. When it goes to player, it's natural to say Messi. I think he's the best that we've seen in our generation. But there's just so many quality players. I mean, Kevin De Bruyne from Man City for a long time was one of my favorites. But now probably currently Vitinha from PSG. I love the way he plays. So one of those three probably are my favorite currently.
Good luck. Go get them.
Thank you.
In Mississippi.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks to men's soccer coach Matt Pitcock. Coming up next on the Rams Hour, it's Aminah Orozco, the volleyball coach, next on the Rams Hour.
Looking for your next truck or SUV? Visit Moritz Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram, where you'll find a great selection of rugged Ram 1500s and 2500s, along with the iconic Jeep Wranglers and versatile Jeep Grand Cherokees. Enjoy competitive pricing, exceptional service, and a dealership that's family-owned and has proudly served the DFW community for over 50 years. Moritz Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Big on hospitality, low on prices. Visit Moritz today and drive home with confidence.
The Rams Hour continue with Rams volleyball coach Aminah Orozco. Rams began the season in Florida in the Kaiser tournament, beating Goshen College, Indiana, then losing to number 10 University of Cumberlands of Kentucky, Kaiser, and number 3 Indiana Wesleyan. Sum up those 3 losses and the 1 victory and how the season started.
I mean, to come back and saying 1-3, as a head coach, we just want to make sure that those girls understand that though those losses doesn't define who we are and what we're capable of, it definitely tells us exactly where we need to grow.
Rams are on top of the 2026 SAC preseason polls, and the SAC season starts next month.
Yeah.
Maybe jumping ahead a little bit, but what does the conference look like so far to you?
I mean, we're really excited. So we have like a core group of returners. We have a lot of newcomers. But other than that, I mean, those core returners, they're definitely establishing those culture and those standards on and off the court. And these newcomers are definitely bringing in some different energy and different strengths compared to last year with enthusiasm. So conference, we're just really excited. I think these girls especially that are coming back are just ready to hit the ground running. I mean, especially coming off and playing and seeing this, top teams this past weekend. I mean, they're ready to go. So they're just excited in general just to, start a conference.
You got the 1 victory, as we said.
Yes.
But how important was it playing 2 of those top 10 teams, as far as the regular season goes? And I mean, setting the tone for the season. You got beat, but that'd be a good experience, though, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, let alone that we weren't expecting to play Indiana Wesleyan. And, the second day, we're like, all right, we got to, accept this challenge and move forward. But I think the key from that is just keeping and instilling that confidence within them. And it's honestly just being honest, making sure that they understand that they belong here. So now we just have to make sure we go back, to practice. And, we have a plan moving forward and just to continue growing and getting stronger and continue to build that dynamic.
You mentioned the confidence. How do you rebuild that after the 3 losses? Do you say, hey, we got beat, or you just do other ways to get that across?
I mean, it's more than just winning, right? So it comes from also the preparation. And from this past weekend is also understanding that these girls have a plan in place when things don't go their way, right? So we just have to make sure that, I let them know as a coach that, we have a plan moving forward. So keep your head up and let's keep growing together to build that consistency as we just played at that high caliber competition this past weekend.
Get some strong additions as far as recruits go this year. Who stood out so far?
So far, we had a freshman standout that did a phenomenal job this weekend, Faith McClellan. She's a freshman coming in at the outside, so she did a great job stepping up. We had another freshman, Lilia Ottenwalder. She's also another setter that came in, and it's tough as a freshman to come in and run the offense, but she did a great job for us this past weekend. And we have another transfer, international transfer, Florencia Churing, and she's one of our middles, and she's actually moved to a right side this past weekend. So being able to adjust to the right side, and she basically was in the positives all weekend long. I mean, no errors there. She kept the ball in play. She was that big threat at the net for us. So we're really excited to see what they can do come conference.
What areas did you feel you needed to recruit in this year?
As far as coming in.
Yes.
I mean, we got some big shoes, to fill. I mean, we have, Sydney Alexander, who was Defender of the Year, as a middle. So making sure that we continue to be a threat at the net, having Luce just switch back into our primary position there. She's now back in the middle, so she's thrilled. And also just, we had Emily, our libero there, who was just a true leader on and off the court as well. Nilly, one of our core returners, understands that, and so her stepping in also and filling in that shoe. Lillian as well, moving up and becoming a starter setter. Hopefully she continues, to show that effort and confidence moving forward. But, I think all these recruits that I brought in all have their own special talent and strengths go. So I wouldn't necessarily compare to the girls that we lost, because I think they bring their own unique skill and, asset that they can bring to the table. So I'm going to take this year as just a brand new squad that we just got to establish our culture and our standards and, just kind of nail it on the consistency part, and we're ready to go.
How would you describe your team's culture and your philosophy?
I would say it's going to be, we call it discipline, dedication, determination, and ultimately just energetic. We have a very just enthusiastic group of individuals. We're loud on and off the court. These girls have awesome personalities, and I think just one of our main core standards is just being a good human. I think you can go so far with just a good group of girls that are just good human beings.
And after the alumni scrimmage, the Texas two-step arrives at the SID on Friday, August 28th, Saturday the 29th. Size up the Friday opponents, Evangel University of Missouri and Our Lady of the Lake.
Yeah.
Size it up for us.
I'm so excited. I think we're ready to get back against McPherson as well. I don't know if you know, but we faced them last year in the first round of nationals. So, seeing them number 7 now, so I'm just ready to see them once again, and especially in the preseason, another challenge yet, to compete against another high caliber team. So no, I'm psyched for it. I think just taking day by day, rep by rep, but no, I'm excited and thrilled for our Texas two-step.
So how much does that size up play in a team that's like 7th ranked? More than, would you just say, nothing against other teams?
Yeah,
play,
absolutely.
Other than against teams that would be not ranked as high.
I mean, you just look at a team, right? You just look at a program in general that just has the same established standards, and so kind of what we saw from them, I mean, they're raw, right? So not only do they bring an offensive threat, but they're so disciplined defensively. So if we want to compare, we got to be maybe not just as good, but just as consistent, right? There are going to be times within a match that won't go your way, but matters truly is how, we teach these girls what they can do in different situations that aren't going their way, and to keep their composure and keep the same plan and drive moving forward. But I mean, size-wise, yeah, I think we're definitely bigger this year, so I don't think height's going to be a difference. I think just making sure that we keep our power coming during those rallies. So, I'm ready for it. I think the challenge is just to buy in and dig in point by point there.
What have you learned about yourself as the years go on as you coach? What have you learned about yourself as a head coach?
As a head coach, we just have to remember that it's not just preparing for a win, kind of what I just stated. It's ultimately just preparing these girls also just to be ready when things, ultimately, yeah, they're not going to go your way. It might not go your way, not just tactically, but, even the refs, right? The linesmen, like that can, put a huge part momentum-wise as far as the match. So just understanding that these girls have to keep their composure, right? And just understand that there's multiple ways to score or to be successful, and I got to instill that in them within practice. I got to let them know what we can do in different scenarios and different situations, and how we can bring it into play and be successful.
What volleyball coaches have you looked up to?
Oh, I have my mentors since before I started college ball. His name is Ray, and he's one of the assistants at Alabama. And he's been really personal with me literally ever since I started coaching. I didn't even think about coaching college. And so he just told me, you have it in you, put yourself out there, apply. But, and yeah, this is where I am now because he just gave me that confidence and just tools I needed to become a better coach.
Thank you, Coach Aminah Orozco. Got her name right this time, and 5 out of the 6 other times, but I blew it that first day. But hey, we got it right this time.
That's
Good luck in this season. We'll talk to you down the road.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Coming up, another special guest on the Rams Hour. That's next.
Rams fans, are you ready? Willie is rolling in style today. Welcome back to Rams football. Willie is showing us how it's done. Look at that club car carry-all go. Metro golf cars. Go Rams!
The Rams Hour moves on with Rams women's soccer coach Katie Bond. We'll have a joke on that coming down the road here in a little bit. But Coach Bond, we were just talking about the weather. You just came from weather. I was saying, well, I'm freezing my you-know-what off because that's why I have a long sleeve. I'm glad I have a long sleeve shirt on. But you just came in from the heat. Man, it was like 104 today. It was a dry heat. But still, how hot was it out there? Did you practice today?
It was pretty hot. We got to have our morning practice in this morning, so a nice little fitness session to start the day off, and we got about halfway through our practice before our athletic trainer had to pull us off and say, it's just too hot to keep going for these girls. We tried even getting them in some shade a little bit at a time, and she just said it was too much for them today. So we had to call it, unfortunately, but it's been every day of our preseason that it's just been something we have to work with. So,
now, do you have somebody standing there with a temperature gauge? Okay, it's 104, that's too hot, we're gonna stop it.
Yep, so our athletic trainer stands out there with the wet bulb and is monitoring the whole time, in the afternoon especially, because honestly our morning isn't that bad, but our afternoon is when it really tends to spike, and so she was out there. We haven't really had an issue with it up until today. Today was the first day we got actually pulled off the field because of the heat warnings and everything. So it's just something we learn to deal with as soccer players, and in game situations you have the water breaks at least, but in practices better to be on the safe side and just be like, all right, obviously it's meant to be done for the day.
Well, hopefully it'll cool off for you here pretty soon. Rams coming off a 3-11-2 season. They've lost a handful of recruits. What recruits have stood out for you so far?
Yeah, so we have 14 new people to our team this year. It is a big recruiting year for us, and we also have 14 returners. So that's a big thing for us. With some of our new people coming in, we have several transfers. We have Sahara from Navarro, along with Heaven from Navarro, who are going to be great additions. One's a forward and one's a defender. And then we have a few freshmen coming in who are really going to compete for some spots. We have Sydney, who's going to be a forward, and then we even have a goalkeeper, Rita, and they're both going to be big competitors, which is always really good because you don't want your returners to ever settle and feel like their place is their place because they're returners. So it's really nice when you get some of these other people coming in, and with having so many new people on the team, every spot is up for grabs.
What area do you want to see improve this year? Or
so,
areas?
So our main one is actually our team culture this year. We have not had a very good team culture, unfortunately, just from trying to mend everybody. We've been great players, but we've never really put it together. This year we did a lot of it during our off season where we had 14, so we really worked on kind of mending those relationships, trying to figure out who works really well with who on the field, and now bringing in these new 14, that's a whole other story of mending new formations and how did you play where you came from versus how we're playing. So it's been interesting, but besides that, our shooting game. You can't score a goal unless you shoot, so we've been working a lot on taking shots in the goal, outside the box, even from distance, and seeing what will really work for our team this year.
And shooting, you can work on, you can practice that as you mentioned, but boy, the other stuff, the mending of the culture, do you have to take courses, or what kind of person do you have to be to do that? It's like you have, kids coming in. They're like your not only sisters or even, younger daughters. How do you go about handling that?
So this year I have a new assistant and she brought in some really big ideas, and one of the big ones that we implemented over the summer was a book club. And so we read a
great.
book called Energy Bus, and it just talked about dealing with your energy. What energy do you want to bring to your teammates? How do you want to be perceived within your team? And it's also dealing with if you're having a bad day or if a teammate's having a bad day, how do you not let it affect you, or how do you help rise them, like bring them up? Just different things like that. And honestly, it has been the best preseason from the last couple seasons. The team is really bonding so far. The communication, you wouldn't think we had 14 new people on that field right now. So it's been a really big surprise, because that's sometimes a big struggle when you bring 14 new people in with all different playing styles, is trying to figure out how to get everyone to work together. And that has not been a big problem for us this year so far.
And how much have you learned about yourself in this, your 4th season?
I've learned quite a bit. I tried my first season to be a coach that I wasn't necessarily meant to be, by being really hard on the girls. I tried to coach the way I wanted to be coached. And based off just generation this time, it's realizing not everyone is who I was as a player, you know, so it's really figuring out how does each player receive information. You know, some people want the really hard coach on them, and some people need to almost be taken aside and talked to either as an individual or within their positional groups to really understand the information you're talking about and not get too much in their heads, because then you got to worry about if they're in their heads, are they going to perform? So I've definitely, and I've talked to a few of my players about it actually, about how much I've grown from being this hard, strict, everyone's the same type of player to growing into understanding everyone is a different player at the end of the day.
What soccer idols do you have?
Ooh, that's a really hard one. I watch predominantly the U.S. women's national team. So honestly, I love their new coach. She is amazing. Emma Hayes, I think her coaching philosophy is really, really good on anything can change at any given moment. So you kind of got to work with what you have. But to go along with it, just some of the old soccer idols. Like I go back to Mia Hamm and Carly Lloyd and some of those players who kind of built women's soccer essentially. But it's some of those ones that are just the greats to me.
Season opens for the Rams soccer team, the women's soccer team, August 24th. That's a Monday, 5 p.m. We're over here now. Now we're there. Paul Quinn College at Martin Field in Fort Worth. How do they look this season?
I don't really know, honestly. I don't tend to focus on teams too early on. I really want to focus on us and how are we getting ready. They actually do have some games this week at least, so we can kind of watch them before we have to play. But at least within the first couple weeks, as long as we don't have a countable game, I really focus on what can we do better. We had 2 scrimmages last week, so it's trying to figure out how do we build off of those with this week going into our first countable game being Monday.
Your name now is Katie Bond, and then Bond, parentheses. And I was going to use Bond, James Bond, or Bond, James Bond, and you know what that is.
Yes.
You have an interesting story on that, which you shared with me before we went on the air. Tell us about that.
So my husband and I got married last March, and when we were introduced to our reception, we actually walked into the James Bond theme song. So, you know, it's just part of it, and to make it even better, his middle name is James.
Oh,
so
that's even better.
it works even better. So it was kind of exciting. People laughed, you know, about it when they realized and put 2 and 2 together on, oh, this is the James Bond theme song. Where are the Bonds now? So
good. I was hoping that we'd use that today, and we actually got to it. Katie, it's been fun. A blast, and good luck this season. We'll see you down the road.
Yes,
here
sir.
soon.
Thank you.
Again, thanks to Katie Bond, Katie Bond, Katie Bond, the James Bond thing. That was hilarious. Anyway, good luck this season. We'll talk to you down the road. Next up, we will have another special guest here on the Rams Hour. That's coming up next.
Hi, my name's Maddie. I'm a wellness coach here at iCryo. Here at iCryo, we take an alternative and holistic approach to healing and recovery. We offer services such as red light therapy, cryotherapy, and IV treatments, everything to help you get to being your best self. Our mission here at iCryo is impacting the lives of both our patients and team members through excellence. Our goal is to inspire people to live longer, stronger, and healthier. You can find us at Left Bank in Fort Worth at 628 Harold Street, Suite 116.
Capping off the initial Rams Hour with the one, the only, the athletic director, the great Ricky Dotson, Longhorn fan that he is. I'm sure we'll get into that at some point during this conversation. But Ricky's in his 9th season and as AD and 14th at the school. Welcome to the show, the initial show of the Rams Hour.
Well, I'm happy to be here. I'm excited about it.
Me too. We got a lot to talk about. One thing which is on everybody's mind is earlier this year, the Rams were approved to move from NAIA and the Sooner Athletic Conference up to D2 in an NCAA. You know, so there's D1, then there's D2 and D3. So they moved to D2 in the NCAA come the 28th. They're in a ramp-up transitional period now for 2 years. And describe that. What's going to happen over the next couple of years in your final 2 years at the Sooner Athletic Conference?
Well, hopefully it won't be chaotic, but it's already kind of started that way, in a good way. I mean, it's been really exciting, a lot of momentum. So we actually received the invite from the Lone Star Conference this past week. In fact, the announcement, as of filming, the announcement's going to come out tomorrow, but these guys will see it will already be out. But you have to have an invite from a conference in order to make that transition. And so we had been in conversations with the Lone Star Conference, really excited about that. I think I heard you say earlier, it's kind of the SEC of Division II. I mean, it is a big time league. And so that's exciting for us. The other thing that to me is exciting about that, and what I think will be good for our fans, is the geographic footprint that conference has. I mean, it currently, when we come in, we'll have 16 schools within the state of Texas. You know, currently in the Sooner, which we're really happy and have been ecstatic about being a part of that league, there's only 3 of us in the state. And so the geographic footprint is going to be better for us. But the whole ramp up to this, we get the invite. Our application for Division II is due in October 1. We will wait until January, February of 27 to get a determination from them. But in that period between October 1 and the January decision, we'll have a visit from the NCAA. They'll come in, they'll take a look at our facilities, they'll interview coaches, they'll interview me and Dr. Messer. So there'll be a lot of things going into that. We've had a consulting group with us for a little over a year, helping guide us through this whole process. And so I feel really good about it. We're working on it constantly. We've got tons of things, manuals and paperwork that we've got to get finished for that. But we've had a team here on campus that has been fantastic in working through that. And so I think we're headed in the right direction.
Who hatched the idea, or when did you start thinking about going to D2?
Well, it's a great question because we actually, in 2019, we had some board members who had kind of brought the idea up. We brought in a consulting group at that point to take a look at the feasibility of making that move. At the time, the report that we got back, we didn't think we were quite ready. Football was relatively new, only a couple of years we had been playing. We had some facility upgrades that we felt like we really needed to do. And our scholarship model really wasn't at a point where we felt like we could be competitive at the Division II level. But then about 2 years ago, we kind of started having some conversations with the Lone Star Conference. And I think football is a big driver of that. Our success in football, you know, we're in the state of Texas. It sort of drives everything. Mm-hmm. But our success in football has helped, I think, push this forward. But for the Lone Star, it's a good fit for them. I mean, the media market that we're in, the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, is a big thing for them. For their schools, they've got tons of alums in this area. And so for them to be able to have a conference game in this area is beneficial to them. And for us, obviously, you know, the geographic footprint that I talked about earlier is better. It's going to allow our fans, I think, easier access to road games. I think there's more natural rivalries that will come out of that. And so really 2 years ago, we started kind of working through this. Dr. Messer and I kind of talked about it. We did another feasibility study to see, are we really ready to make this move? And the answer is yes. I mean, we've made some improvements to facilities. We're moving into a brand new football stadium. It's going to allow us to move soccer over there. Baseball and softball are about to move into a new facility. So, you know, the things that were sort of holding us back before, I think we've sort of addressed. Our scholarships are in a better place. So I just think the time is now. We just finished a strategic plan for the university, and part of that is growth. And we felt like part of that growth has to be athletics. You know, we've got to make a step forward. It's a courageous move, but I think it's one, and I think I heard Fran say earlier, it's a move that benefits the entire university.
And you talked about the brand recognition and with football, but I mean, Texas Wesleyan is a small enrollment school, but it's a heavyweight in my mind as far as brand recognition. How much did the brand recognition help you to make that move to D2?
Well, I think it was extremely important. You know, in Fort Worth, it's interesting as I travel around the country and in different parts of the state, it seems like I always run into someone who's got a Texas Wesleyan tie or an affiliation. And so there is some recognition there. What we feel like is the NAIA has been great to us and has been something that I've been really proud to be a part of, and has been, you know, we don't look at it as something that we're stepping away from. What we look at is the NCAA brand brings something to us that we couldn't get anywhere else. And so I think the whole branding part that you're talking about is sort of a two-way street. I mean, the NCAA is going to bring us a brand and some credibility that I think is really going to benefit us. And I think our name and our success, and then obviously the location is going to be a big benefit to them.
Who did you hire to help with the transition?
Well, part of the NCAA requirement is you have to have a compliance person on staff, full-time compliance. And Kevin Milliken has been a compliance person for us while we've been in the NAIA. And at that level, we can use a coach who can take part in that compliance part. At the NCAA level, that has to be independent. There can't be a coach. So we've hired Erica Peterson, who has extensive experience in the compliance world. She's been at Arizona State. She's been at San Diego State. She was most recently the deputy AD at Wingate, which is a Division II school on the East Coast. She has been, I mean, fantastic about helping us with a lot of these steps we're having to go through to get to the NCAA application and all of those things.
We have a lot more to talk to, and this is the man to talk to it about the transition to NCAA D2, the new stadium, which is, I really am excited about, not only D2, but the new stadium as well. And Ricky talked about baseball and softball fields and stuff too, so a lot to be excited about. But let's grab a break. We'll be back with Ricky Dotson after a word from one of our fine sponsors.
Moritz Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram invites you to stop by and get to know us. We're family owned and have served the DFW community for over 50 years. It's your satisfaction that drives us. Check out our selection of Ram trucks, built tough and ready for work. From the Ram 1500 to the 3500, you'll always find the truck that's right for you. We also have plenty of Jeep Wranglers and Jeep Grand Cherokees for you to choose from. Give us the chance to earn your business and keep your business. Moritz Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram in West Fort Worth.
Back on the Rams Hour with Rams Athletic Director Ricky Dotson, talking about the Rams transition from Sooner Athletic Conference and the NAIA to the NCAA and D2 and the SEC, in my mind, of D2 is the Lone Star Conference. What will be the biggest challenges once you get to that point for recruiting?
Well, I think there's a lot of challenges we will face. Part of that challenge is, I think, the adjustment for our coaches to understand the talent level that we're going to need to go after. I think we have an idea of what that is, but I think until you see it and you face it and you have to play against it, it's going to make some decisions and some adjustments on our part. You know, Fran, they're playing UCO here to open the season this year. I think it'll give them an idea of what it takes to compete at that level. The other thing is our scholarship levels. I mean, we're gonna have to adjust some scholarships so that we're on level with the same playing field that all these other Lone Star conference schools are playing on. And so I think those are the two biggest adjustments that we're going to have to make. I feel like I know it's not going to be an easy transition. Our coaches there's going to be some growing pains there. But I have a lot of confidence in their ability. I know that the university is committed to making this move. And so it may take us a little bit, but we're going to get there.
You mentioned the guidelines. How different are the guidelines between the NAIA and the NCAA?
Very similar. You've got some differences in, official start dates for practices. You've got a few changes in the number of games that you can play. The bigger part of it, I think, is there is a lot more structure to the NCAA. There's a lot more enforcement on the rules and the things that you have to go through. We're required to have a compliance software in place, which we've put in place. All those things, in my opinion, make us stronger, make us better. And so I think, you can look at those things as going, man, those are going to be pretty prohibitive. My opinion is those are going to make us better. It's going to make us better at what we do. And so I think that's where the big differences come.
How much different is the talent level from NAIA to, well, obviously D1, but to D2?
I think that's a really difficult question to answer because I think what you will see, Brian Wanamaker, our basketball team, has a lot of Division I transfers. He's got some D2 bounce backs. I think that talent level, in basketball, men's and women's basketball, we've got several guys that I think are talented enough to play at the Division II level, maybe even a lot of those individuals. I think that in football, we're probably going to be relatively, maybe size-wise, probably not going to match up with those schools. We're going to need to improve that. But what I think will happen is in our other sports, in soccer, in volleyball, in baseball, there's going to be a little bit of a gap there that we're going to have to close up. And I think there is in every sport. But I have a feeling that in basketball, men's and women's, we've got some talented kids that are capable of at least competing at that level. The goal for us is we don't want to just compete, we want to win. We want to be at the top of the league. And I don't have, I'm not real smart, but I'm smart enough to know we're not going to step in and immediately start winning conference championships. It's going to take us some time. But I do feel like that gap in talent we're going to be able to make up.
We're talking about football right now, so let's keep it in that general vein. We'll get to some Longhorns questions here in a second. But keeping it on the campus of Fort Worth here in Texas Wesleyan in Fort Worth. Football. Fran Johnson, head coach, been here now 5 years as an OC. I was really glad, nothing against past coaches, but I was really glad to see Fran get the head coaching gig. How do you think they're going to be, and what do you think of some of the recruits? I guess it's early, but what do you think of the amount of recruits that he's been able to bring on?
Well, first of all, I'm really happy that we got Fran. We're able to hold on to him. I think he's going to be fantastic. You see it, or I have seen it throughout my career. People kind of go along and never get that shot at a head coaching job. I'm really happy that we've been able to give him that chance, and I think he's going to be fantastic. he brings about what I consider to be the right kind of culture, the culture that we want. I think he does things the right way. I think he has the mindset for what you need in order to be a college coach in today's environment. It's totally different than it was 15, 20 years ago, probably even 10 years ago. So I think he brings in a mindset that's going to be successful. He's been able to recruit guys that, I don't know if the D2 announcement had anything to do with that, but I think he's been able to get some guys that maybe we wouldn't have gotten before. I know we've got a defensive player that was the 6A Defensive Player of the Year in the state of Texas. He's undersized, but those are the types of guys, as we make this move, that we need to have. And I think he's got an eye for talent. I think his coaches work extremely hard to make those things happen and to get those kids signed. So I'm really looking forward to it. He didn't pick an easy schedule, I will say that. I mean, he's got McNeese on the schedule, and he's got UCO and Mary Hardin-Baylor. I mean, our non-conference schedule is probably as strong as any NAIA school in the country. So he's not going to take it lightly, I know that.
How much does his skins as an offensive coordinator, both up at Benedictine and then the 5 years here at Texas Wesleyan, how much has that helped him, at least for the offense, and both sides of the ball?
Well, I think it's been a tremendous help to him and an advantage for us. I mean, if you look back, so we're going on a run of 4 consecutive conference championships. Mm-hmm. He's been a part of each one of those as offensive coordinator, and I don't think there's an accident in that. And Joe and Brad did fantastic jobs as head coaches and was really happy for the jobs that those guys did. I think Fran was able to be the offensive coordinator, kind of watch what happened, observe the landscape, and I think he's going to be able to take all of that in and really make the job his own, so to speak. But those experiences that he's had, being successful as offensive coordinator, and his time at Benedictine, I think all of that adds up to being successful.
I've been to a number of practice sessions, both in the spring, the summer, and now fall camp, and have watched the progression of Karen Kramer Stadium. And I harken back to 2016. I was sitting with my wife because we were in the suite at the old ballpark in Arlington, and that was when they first talked about, football come back. That's when football was first announced. Steve Tratcher was you were on board then.
I was, yeah.
And Steve Tratcher was the AD at that time. And I remember the talk, and even with President Slayback, the talk about the new stadium. And so the hair was standing up in my neck, and that's when I was hustling Steve for the play-by-play gig.
Right.
But which I got, thank God, by the way. And thank you, Steve, and thank you, Ricky, for continuing with me as the voice of the Rams. But anyway, the hair stood up on my neck then because I get something about new stadium. So I've been able to see the progress and the transgression of nothing against Farrington, but we're in a beautiful location now at CISD. But I've been able to see that go through now, building up. So how's that coming along for you, the building of Karen Kramer Stadium?
Well, it's exciting because you're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like you said, from the day we announced football was going to come to campus, the idea was floated that we would have a stadium on campus. And it's taken a ton of work from Fred to Dr. Messer to our advancement office. I mean, all of those things coming together to make this happen. It's been fun to watch. It's taken some patience, as you said, we're now 10 years into it, and now it's about to be completed. I'm really excited about it being done. I think it's going to be a great move for the university to have games on campus, and Crowley is a fantastic facility. But I think being on campus is going to allow for some things. It's going to allow our alums to get back on campus. It's going to allow our students that are here to walk across, the street and go watch a game, and that has not been possible before now. So it's going to be a really, really good thing for us, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited too, as I mentioned, and I thank Moritz, NBT, Karen Kramer, for the Moritz Fieldhouse, which just opened up last year, and for the forthcoming Karen Kramer Stadium. And you mentioned baseball and softball stadiums. You mentioned another one too. What's the scoop on those? When will when will the dirt be done?
Yeah, we're working on a deal with Fort Worth ISD to move our baseball and softball teams over to Lon Goldstein, which is, Goldstein seats about 2,000 people. I mean, it's a stadium setting. It's going to be a huge improvement for baseball. Plan is to move softball over there too. They've got a complex with 3 separate fields. We'll have to go in and do some improvements to it. But I feel like it's a really good move for both programs. It's going to take some adjustment, getting our fans to know where to go, and because it's about 4 miles away from campus. But I think the setting and the opportunities that are going to come with that space and those facilities are going to be a big benefit to us.
Fabuloso. And talking about other sports, we had the men's and women's soccer coaches on earlier today, and the volleyball coach. How do you see all those 3 sports, starting off with men's soccer this year?
Well, Matt has done a fabulous job. I mean, I think he's 19 and 16 overall since he's been here. And I have been able to see a progression of what our men's team has done. I look for them to be really competitive this year. I think he's done a really good job recruiting and just putting in, like he talked about, a culture that he wants to establish. Women's soccer, Katie, Katie is a young coach. I think she's figuring some things out. I heard her talk to you earlier about the things that she's learned through being a head coach. And I think it takes some time, and I think she's really kind of gotten to a point now to where she's got her own identity. She's putting that onto her team, and I look for them to be a lot better. Volleyball, our volleyball history, you go back, I guess we're working on 9 years straight into the national tournament. So we've got a history of being really good in volleyball. Aminah's been able to continue that. I think when you look at the Sooner Conference, it's been us and Nelson every year. I think we're picked number 1 in the conference preseason this year. So I don't see any drop-off coming there, and I think she's gotten some really good recruits. So I think our fall season is going to be one to watch, and I think it's going to be fun to be a part of.
And back to fall season sports, we would be remiss if we didn't ask Mr. Longhorn here, a UT grad, Ricky Dotson, about those Longhorns. I mean, I never have disliked the Longhorns, never really liked them,
right.
But I'm kind of more, I don't know if it's because being around you for 9 years now or whatever, but and Arch has a lot to do with it too. But do you think Arch will play more than this year, or do you think this is his final year?
Well, I hear things, and not that I've got any type of inside scoop, but I've heard people say that they would not be surprised if he returned another year. I think it's hard, just my personal opinion, if you're going to be a first-round pick or the number 1 pick, which some people have projected, I think that's really hard to not take. And so I would be shocked if he comes back another year. I hope that he, being a Longhorn fan, I hope he goes out. He's fantastic. He wins a national championship and he walks off the field and takes the next step.
Do you think the hype around him being a Manning by blood, and there was a lot of hype around there, but how much do you think that affected him last year? Because he did have a lot better second half than he did the first half, but how much did that affect the first part of the season?
I'm sure it probably had a little bit. My personal opinion of that is, he had not played really for 2, 3 full years. I mean, his last extensive playing time was as a senior in high school, and he backed up Quinn Ewers for a couple of years there, and he got to play some games and some kind of cleanup minutes. I just think there was an adjustment getting back into live action and having to go at it. That to me, I think, was part of it. And then, I mean, you're talking about playing at the highest level of collegiate football, and so the speed and the the violence of it, to be quite honest with you. All that going into it, and to see it for the first time, I think there's an adjustment period.
Do you think Archie and Eli would have any influence or effect on him, whether he enters for the draft or whether he comes back for another year?
Oh boy, that I couldn't even start to answer. But my guess is, in kind of following the way things go, I think they trust him to make his own decisions, and seems like he made a really good one going to Texas. I'll say that. So I think they'll leave it to him. I really do. I'm sure he will consult them, but ultimately it'll probably be his decision.
I know you probably hope, but do you think the Longhorns will be carrying the championship trophy down the streets of Austin this year?
Well, I will say this. I'm a little bit superstitious, so I always hate to try to pick anybody, but I keep hearing from the prognosticators that they have the best talent in college football. That doesn't always add up to winning a national championship, but as the quote goes, it's about the Jimmies and Joes and not the X's and O's. So if they've got the talent, that's the first step.
Ricky, thanks very much for this initial appearance on the initial Rams Hour. Let's get you back here for the winter season, too.
I'd love to.
We'll discuss hoops and all those other fine winter sports here at Texas Wesleyan. I always say this, and he's not here, but for Ricky Dotson, for Coach Fran, all the coaches we talked to today for volleyball and for soccer, James McBride, Aaron Marquard, Kenneth Flowers, I'm Jimmy the St. Christopher saying, talk to you next time on the Rams Hour. Adios.